Behind those perfectly curled noodles and that rich, flavorful seasoning is a high-speed, ultra-precise operation running 24/7. Inside the factory, massive machines mix, roll, steam, and fry the dough at lightning speed. But here's where it gets really interesting. How do they keep every single noodle the same shape? And what's the secret to that addictive taste that makes you come back for more? Today, we're stepping inside an instant noodle factory where science, engineering, and a bit of magic come together to create one of the world's most beloved comfort foods. Let's find out how it's done. 1. The birth of the noodle dough. The journey of your favorite instant noodles begins with the most basic ingredients: wheat flour, water, and a special mix of additives. But don't be fooled by how simple it sounds. Making the perfect noodle dough is an art. The factory begins by carefully mixing the flour with just the right amount of water, turning it into a thick, sticky dough. This is where the magic happens. To get the noodles to be perfectly chewy, soft, and strong enough to hold together when cooked, the dough is treated with a secret blend of additives. These additives help the noodles keep their shape, prevent them from sticking, and give them that satisfying bite. What's even more fascinating is the precise control over the ingredients. Machines weigh and mix every ingredient down to the smallest detail. The flour and water ratio is key. The dough can't be too wet or it'll fall apart, and it can't be too dry or the noodles will be hard and brittle. Once the dough is just right, it's ready for the next step: rolling and stretching into thin, even sheets. But this process starts with that perfect dough. Without it, the noodles wouldn't have that springy, soft texture we all love. The next time you rip open a pack, just remember, it all started with that carefully crafted dough. 2. From dough to perfect strands. Now that the dough is ready, the next step is where the magic really begins: transforming that dough into perfect strands of noodles. This part happens quickly, almost like a high-speed assembly line, and it's fascinating to watch. First, the dough is flattened into thin sheets using massive rolling machines. These rollers press the dough down with incredible force, turning it into a smooth, even layer. Think of it like rolling out a pizza dough, but much faster and much larger. The thinner the sheet, the thinner the noodles will be, so the machines have to get it just right. Once the dough is flat enough, it's cut into perfectly uniform strands. High-tech cutters slice through the dough with laser-like precision, ensuring every noodle is exactly the same width. This is where things get tricky, because if one noodle is too thick or too thin, it can mess with the cooking time and texture. But the machines are so advanced, they can adjust in real time to maintain that perfect consistency across thousands of noodles at once. Now, as the noodles move along the conveyor belt, they get an extra treatment. They're often stretched just a little to give them that perfect, chewy texture. Each strand has to be just the right balance between firmness and flexibility, so when you cook them, they're springy and satisfying to bite into. This is how a simple dough transforms into the iconic noodle shape we all recognize. 3. Steaming and the secret to that springy bite. Here's where things get really interesting. Once the noodles are cut into perfect strands, they don't just get boiled, they get steamed. Steaming is the secret behind that amazing springy bite that makes instant noodles so satisfying. The noodles are carefully placed into a huge steaming chamber, where hot steam is injected at precise temperatures. Unlike boiling, which can break down the noodles and make them soggy, steaming keeps the noodles intact while locking in moisture and flavor. This step is all about giving the noodles that soft, chewy texture we crave. The steam heats them up evenly, allowing the dough to expand just right, creating the perfect balance of softness with a bit of a bite. But here's a fun fact: the temperature and time during steaming must be perfect. If the noodles aren't steamed long enough, they'll be too tough. If they're steamed too long, they could become mushy. It's a delicate balance. That's why most factories use high-tech sensors in machines to keep track of every batch. This step is also crucial because it prepares the noodles to be either fried or air-dried later on. But the texture you get from this steaming process is what makes the noodles so enjoyable when you cook them. That soft, bouncy springiness that we love comes directly from this steaming step, and without it, noodles wouldn't be nearly as irresistible. 4. The magic of instant cooking: frying versus air drying. Now we're entering the final stretch of the noodle making process. How do factories turn fresh, steamed noodles into the instant noodles we know and love? The answer lies in two methods: frying or air drying. Both create the instant noodles, but they do it in different ways, and each method has its own special trick to make those noodles quick to cook and long-lasting on the shelf. Frying is the most common method. Here the noodles are quickly deep-fried in hot oil, turning them crispy and golden brown. This process not only removes moisture from the noodles but also gives them a unique texture that makes them cook almost instantly when you add hot water. The frying process locks in that springy texture while creating little pockets of air inside each noodle. This is what makes them cook so quickly. Just a few minutes in boiling water, and they're done. On the other hand, some factories use air drying. In this method, the noodles are gently dried out by warm air over a longer period of time. This keeps the noodles less greasy, and they tend to have a lighter, softer texture when cooked. While air-dried noodles take a bit longer to cook compared to fried ones, they still provide that familiar soft and chewy bite we love. Both methods have their pros and cons, but no matter which method is used, the goal is the same. Make sure the noodles are quick to prepare and have the perfect texture once cooked. It's this magic of either frying or air drying that makes instant noodles such a convenient, comforting meal in just minutes. 5. The flavor factory. Seasoning that hooks you. The most important part of instant noodles, besides the noodles themselves, is the seasoning. That little packet of spices is what makes the noodles come alive, giving them that rich, savory flavor that keeps us coming back for more. But what's really inside that packet? It's more than just salt and pepper. Creating the perfect seasoning is like mixing a fine recipe. Food scientists spend years perfecting the blend of spices, seasonings, and flavor enhancers that make instant noodles so irresistible. The magic starts with umami, the savory taste that gives the noodles their deep, satisfying flavor. Add a dash of salt and of spice and a touch of sugar, and suddenly you've got a balanced, flavorful mix that elevates the noodles from simple to delicious. But here's the secret. The seasoning is carefully designed to work with the noodle's texture. The spices and flavorings are often in powder form, so when hot water is added, they dissolve quickly and coat every strand evenly. In fact, the exact ratio of salt, sugar, and seasonings is fine-tuned to ensure that the noodles taste perfect, no matter how much or how little water you add. And don't forget the flavor enhancers. These are special ingredients that boost the natural flavors and give the noodles that crave-worthy taste. They're not something you'd easily recognize, but they make a huge difference in the final dish. So the next time you add that seasoning packet, remember that a whole team of experts carefully crafted the perfect flavor to make your noodles taste just right. 6. Packaging and the final quality check. Once the noodles are made and the seasoning is ready, the last step is packaging, and this is where speed and precision are key. The instant noodles have to be packaged quickly to keep them fresh, but every single pack has to meet strict quality standards. Here's how it all comes together. The noodles move from the production line to high-speed machines that quickly place them into plastic or foam cups, or plastic wrapped packs, depending on the style. These machines can pack hundreds of noodle packs every minute, but even at such a fast pace, they still ensure that each pack is sealed perfectly. If there's even the tiniest mistake, like a tear in the plastic or a missed seasoning packet, the pack is immediately rejected. It's all about maintaining the quality. But packaging isn't just about sealing the noodles in a bag or cup. Before that final seal, the noodles go through one more quality check. They're inspected for consistency in size, texture, and appearance. Every batch is checked to make sure the noodles are free of defects, and even the smallest mistake, like a broken noodle or an extra crispy one, gets caught by the machine's sensors. Thanks for watching. Now you know the fascinating journey behind your favorite instant noodles. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes looks at the food we love. Stay curious and see you in the next video.